Okay, welcome, Professor, and we're happy that you're back. And I want to remind everyone, please don't, anyone has any questions, to write it down on a paper. There's a pen and papers in the back of your papers, Mafi. And we'll make time every few minutes to open the floor for questions. Except if it's something, it's a must, then...
emergency.
Write it down.
Right. Or if someone has a word they don't understand, even if it's not a must, we all want people to participate, and if you have a word that you don't understand, you can ask. Or if you think you have a better word to describe something, you can murmur it loudly. Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
One word only.
One word.
Okay.
Two with a makkah. Right? So we were talking last time about how there are sources from Bayis Sheni that talk about events connected to the institution of the holiday of Chanukah. We also talked about the Book of Judith, which l'chayra isn't connected to the events of Chanukah, but at least in the Latin version, at the end, it says, and the Jews, they still have a yontif that they celebrate because of this victory, and they keep it till this day. It doesn't say the date of the yontif, it doesn't say when it was, but you're dealing with some kind of Bayis Sheni era victory, even though it says it's time of Persians, but it seems to parallel what we see in other sources in 1 Maccabees and 2 Maccabees in connection with Greeks. Could the Book of Judith be a fictionalized account of what's going on in 1 Maccabees, 2 Maccabees? It could be. Unclear what's going there. We also said that in Chazal we don't really see stories, certainly not a coherent narrative of this happened and then this happened, there was a battle and there was this. Then we said that times of Go'ainim, maybe 9th century, 10th century, you have Jews who are reading Greek or Latin, or Greek and Latin, especially in southern Italy. And we get this, we talked about Yosipon. We also talked about Medrash Chanukah. So before we get into the text of the Piyyut itself, I want to look at the passages from Yosipon that are relevant here, and from Medrash Chanukah. Not dealing with the entire section from Yosipon, but part of it.
Before you go to Stephen, I want to ask you a question. We're talking now about the Paytanim that you're going to read after that. It's from the 7th century, 8th century, right? Yeah?
10th. Yeah.
10th. So now, by the 10th century, there's already the Bavli.
Yeah.
And the Bavli does have a story. Maybe it's different than the story of the Sefrut Unai Bayis Sheni.
Correct. So, it's very short.
So my question is, how could it be that the story of the Bavli is not mentioned in the Piyyutim?
So sometimes it is, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't.
Now, because you said that we don't have, they didn't have any other sources. Pnim Yehudidige sources, they have to go outside to shop.
So first you have to ask when.
Why? When they had already the Bavli. What does it mean? Even then,
it's not enough. It's
in
not
the 10th century. The Bavli is already widely spread.
Okay.
They know about the Bavli.
Yeah.
Why isn't it enough? The Bavli is. I'm saying
it's not
Bavli.
It's why not? Can you make a coherent story for? In Eretz Yisrael, maybe not. In Eretz Yisrael, but in Europe,
the 10th century. I don't know. I'm asking. I want to know what he's going to answer. It could be he's going to answer. No, I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
How much the Bavli was known in 10th century Eretz Yisrael? They knew of its existence. How much they'd actually read it? I don't know. Mm-hmm. In Europe.
No, but your claim is they didn't have
the example you gave last time about the Shabusim.
Penindiga sources to be able to check. So they need to go to Sfarim Chatzanut. That normally they don't learn Sfarim Chatzanut.
It's not enough. What you have in the Bavli, you're talking about the Mai Chanukah Brisa?
Yeah.
It's 28 words long.
Well,
28 words long.
The example you gave last time about the Shabusim, that it goes through all Chanukahs. Does he mention the Nes Pach Shemen?
Who?
No.
The Piyyut that you mentioned last one.
Chanukah Shishish.
Chanukah Shishish, with the 7 Chanukahs.
Does it mention the Nes?
It does not.
No.
Why?
That's my question.
He's earlier.
Earlier. When is he?
6th. That might be Kaleri.
And he didn't know. He doesn't know anything about the
Bavli. He does not. That's Rabbeinu Tam's. That's Rabbeinu Tam's whole word there. He says.
I think a lot of this is points to that this advent of associating Chanukah around the menorah is a later advancement. I think in the beginning it was just about the military victory.
That's a speech. Yeah.
About the menorah at all, or you're talking about about connecting to the menorah at all?
At all.
And so already in 1 Maccabees, it talks about it talks about one of the things, the two major things they do when they get back to the Har and they get control of it are Korban HaTamid and Adlokas HaMenorah. Okay, these are very prominent things. You could say why the Menorah and not the Tamid, and why not both? But these are prominent from the beginning. And also, once you have the connection to the mitzvah of Hadlakas Ner Chanukah, it's natural to, if there are two things they did, and you don't even need 1 Maccabees to know that. You need to know what's the daily avodah when you haven't had the mikdash. What are you going to do? You want the Ketairas, the Menorah, and the Tamid. Those are the things you can do immediately. But again, I think these were more than one word and weren't very, very, very important questions. That we'll leave that. We'll leave that to later. Right? Those are the rules. Okay. So as I said, my answer to you was, I said, even so, as we said, time of the Kiliri. The answer is he doesn't have the Bavli. Later on, it's 28 words. It's not enough for you. Look at other Yom Tovim. They're dealing with midrashim and midrashim and midrashim. They're writing and writing and writing. How much can you make out of this one story? So you can write it. You got a stanza, 2 stanzas. Yosipon. So he's rewriting his source, which is in this case a Latin translation of 1 Maccabees and of 2 Maccabees. He's rewriting it in Hebrew, gorgeous biblical style Hebrew. With the Vav, fine. Al goy makedon. V'gam talmai melech Mitzrayim ne'asaf el amma v'yimlech talmai acher tachtav. All of the ones in Egypt, they're all named Ptolemy. They're all named Ptolemy. So knowing which one is which, to modern scholars assign them numbers. The first, the second. They didn't assign numbers. So usually you'd say the name of the father, but the name of the father it's always Talmai ben Talmai. So it's fine. So Talmai died, and Talmai, another Talmai is he takes the throne. All of Alan, Tierchas Melech Makedon, Vayakeyu, Vaymiseyu, Valkodos, Kol Eretz Mitzrayim, Vimloch Kol Haaretz. The fights between the Seleucids and the Ptolemies, between the what Daniel calls the king of the north, the king of the south. Vayomim Mechilu Melchomes Gedolos V'Noros Litzmayach Be'am Yehuda, Ki Homlach Antiochus, Ba'koises Mitzrayim. Vayigbar libay ma'ay, vayishlach b'chol eretz mamshalto l'chol am v'am lishtach vayis l'tzelem hu tmunas hamelech Antiochus. So he's very proud. He says, "You got to worship me." Vayosu kol hagoyim v'ishtachvu vayavoyu paritze amenu. Paritzim, the bad Jews. Menelaus v'shimon v'alkimos ushar rishi amenu vayoros Antiochus laharas Yisrael. Az nira my face li'er Yerushalayim. This is. I don't remember if this is 1. I think this is 2 Mac. This is from 2 Mac. This is from 2 Mac. Yeah, 2. Right. Generally, when it's miracles, it's from 2 Mac because he's mixing the accounts from 2. Vayira'u arba'im yoyim beina aretz u'beina shamayim kitmu susei eish v'rechveyam. Noisim biyadam klei milchama asher lazahav v'nilchamim eila lemul eila arba'im yoyim. You have like a show, a hologram in heaven. You have the movie of these 2 sides fighting.
Chomot Yerushalayim.
Above Chomot Yerushalayim, yes, and the Chomot of Yerushalayim shall Maila. What? Yeah. Vayavoyu Rishi Amenu El HaMelech Antiochus V'Emer Elavine Nira Maifes B'Yerushalayim V'Ema Imrim Ki Mes Antiochus HaMelech V'Ema Samchu Al Mapoilas Adonim. Straight out of 2. 2 Maccabees. Vaytzefer Melech Ma'oid Vayavay Pisa Yerushalayim. So he attacks them. Who escapes? Vayanusu HaChasidim Yara. They escape into the forest. Again, this is in our old sources. It probably happened. I mean, how reliable are these bias shady sources of the Chesfarim Chitzonim? I don't know about the white face in heaven. I don't know about eating grass. You can't really live if you. Maybe they ate grass. I don't think they could survive on that. But they fine. La'an noisasam Yehuda, vayazov Philippus. Although, as you'll see in the Sefer Kabbalah, Ibn Daud, Ravid the historian, he always writes the name with the vav, Poiliphos, and we'll see that's how it is in the Piyyut. So he came from this. The Mitlete Frigi Ematroyani is coming from the Frigi. Asher Yotzu Me'abroimanim vaya Piliphos. He leaves Philippos there to oppress them. says, "Kol asher yeyos v'yishtachav t'munas hatzelam asher yikemoisiv asher yoichel b'zar chazir chayehu." Anyone who refuses to eat chazer, to bow to the tzelam, you kill him. The king goes, he goes away. It says Macedonia. I believe that's not what it says in 2 Maccabees. It just says he goes on his way, and he's understanding, well, if they're ultimately from Macedonians, he must have gone to Macedonia. Doesn't matter where he goes. He leaves Philippos there. 2 women circumcised their sons. Throwing them off. It's gruesome. Elazar Sarakayanim. Who Elazar Shekasavnu Lamala Asher Alachlu Mitzrayim Bimei Talmai. So he wrote earlier the story of the Tagam Hashivim. He says one of the Kayanim who was sent then was someone named Elazar. Does not say in 2 Maccabees that he was one of the from that, but he sees the name Elazar, so he connects that Elazar to that Elazar. How? He would have had to be very old at that time, and in fact, when he has he says to Philippos when Philippos tries to get him to eat, he says first eat my zevach. He says I won't do it. He says so eat your zevach and I'll tell you. It'll look like you're eating mine. It's like drinking the water in the colored glasses to make it look like you're drinking a nesach. So what's he say? He says, where is it? He says, Ani hayom ben tishim shana ve'ein yomai hayom liyira like I've been mirma. I should do this at age 90. Where do you get that he's 90? Well, if he's the same Elazar from the other one, he's going to be 90. So you get that. So you can write some dialogue there. I don't think in 2 Maccabees it says he's old, but fine. So he says, I'm not going to do this to trick them. So they kill him. Then you have the story of Isha Viladeha. As we said last time, the name Chana doesn't come in till the Middle Ages. And it seems it's the result. It's the result of a drasha. It's the result of who says ad akara yoda shiva, the biblical Chana. So, with that her name, that's you see other names. You see Shoshana. You see Miriam. You see. He certainly doesn't use the name Chana here. As nisbesu achim shiva ve'imam v'shulchu al melach ki od lo hirchik melach lalachas b'Yerushalayim uvavor b'soyav b'sar chazir v'saruach v'nivash. Shusofu bachzarios, uvshoir besaram usas. Their flesh, they're cut up. Vaishasef shmos agag. He takes an oxen and tears them up, and he goes through each of the 7 boys, and each says a pasuk. Gruesomely cuts them up, puts them on the fire. Fine. Then the last one, line 88, as Imam HaKadosh Amdal Pigrayam Vatifra Iskap Be'ashamayim V'Vatoyim Eloika Niskav Eloika Oilam Avoyana Ani Amitecho Amosecha Im Banai B'Makom Asher Chinoisalem. Let me also die along with them. So she jumps off the, doesn't say she jumps off them, she just, Shilma Nafsha, she somehow she dies at that moment. And then, after all these martyrdom stories, he begins Yamei Matis Yo Ben Yochanan HaKayin. So fine, again the king goes, Macedonia by Tzavel Philippos Velasarim Asher Azal Beretz Yehuda Verimlem Ma'achai Timchu Eskol Es Zeicher Shem Yehuda Be'al Haaretz. I don't know if he said Zeicher. It's the Gzeira Shavot, the Chadgir. V'chol Asher Yazker Shema Yehudi Targuhu. Anyone who calls himself a Jew who says Yehudi, kill him. If you say I'm a Greek, keep him alive. This point is the last that the Piyyut we're looking at is going to take from Yosipon, but I continued it a bit more, so you'll see. It continues with the history. Those who came to Modi'in, they were spared. starts, he makes the revolt. That's where all this is, you see, and eventually it's going to go through the story straight from one Maccabees. Matthias is only mentioned in one Maccabees. It's good. It says he has the revolt. He won't offer the chazzanut on the mizbeach. He has 5 sons. He dies. He gives a tzava what each of them should do. Each of them has a name, a nickname. Their battles. Eventually, Yehuda becomes the head of the sons. They reconquer Har HaBayis. They're able to start again the Korban HaTamid, the Menorah, the Curates. They celebrate. They make Chanukah. They continue their battles. Eventually, Yehuda's killed. And Yehuda's killed is replaced by Yonas, and eventually by Shimon. It goes through the story of that. Good. Now we're in a completely different universe, from the realm of a sober history to the realm of fantastical first drasha and then stories. So the Medrash Chanukah texts, you find them when you look at them in manuscripts or the various places they've been printed. It's all printed as one big gemish. In fact, though, there are 3 parts. My friend Avram Levine has isolated 3 different sections. And you can even see that they're clearly 3, because if you look in different manuscripts, they're indeed in different orders. One might have Aleph, Beis, Gimel, the other might have Beis, Aleph, Gimel, the other might have Gimel, Aleph, Beis.
3 sources.
There are 3 sources. In those manuscripts, it never says when it starts a new one, now we're in a new one. But the fact that they're in different orders, you see that they're separate. It's also very clear. Once we read them, you'll see these are very clearly 3 separate things. The first one is not a story. The first one's a drasha. In brackets, I put the drasha Malchias, because that's what Avram Levine called it. It's a drasha on Psukim about Malchias. Ksiv.
From who is the drasha? What time? What year?
Seems.
What does that have to do with the Shiltas? Has anything to do with the Shiltas?
No, it's found in a manuscript of the Shiltas. The Mirsky Shiltas, you know the Mirsky, Shmuel Kalman Mirsky. He published a good edition of the Shiltos. Is based on one manuscript. I think it's an Italian manuscript. It had, after Ilchas Chanukah, it has new thing, Medrash Chanukah. You find this in other sources, but this is probably the best.
What century is it?
So each of the 3 is going to be from a different one, but you'll see probably 9th, 10th, 9th, early 10th maybe. Well, our Paytan's probably in the 10th, so he already has it. It's probably 9th.
Bubble at the straw, what is it?
So, I'll let you on a secret. When we don't know where something's from, we say, Italy or Byzance, medieval, Italy. Italy is the answer. Italy means we don't know.
The connector.
Exactly. So it's Italy. Trust me. Ksiv, dor heilig v'dor ba v'aretz la'ila ma'madas. V'ksiv, v'aretz ka begetiv la'ela dor heilig v'dor ba. How can it be? V'aretz la'ila ma'madas. How can it last? It says that the land is not going to stay. Ela dor heilig v'dor ba means umos ha'olam. V'aretz la'ila ma'madas means Yisrael, not the actual land. Shenikro eretz. This is the language of Medrash. This is not a story. This is, what's this pasuk mean? What's going on? Then, boy urei kama malchios nilchamu al Yisrael. It's the language of late Medrash. This sounds like a Tanchuma, right? The boy urei XYZ Aleph Beis Gimel v'chol achas v'achas mechadeshes gezeros alein. They all make gezeros. One malchus comes, another one leaves. Yishtabach Shemais. Next paragraph again sounds like Tanchuma. Yishtabach Shemai Yis'al Zich Resha Kol Golei Lefanav. He knows everything. Golei V'Yadua Yal Lefanav Yisrael Asidi Lachnoi Lefanav. Ulaglois Ulafit V'Lahafitza Meinu Mos Olam V'Yiktim Lem Refuah. So they got the Refuah before the Makkah. Ve'Amid Lem B'Chol Dor V'Dor Moshiim. I mean, you see this in the Gemara already, and the Gemara in Megillah, where it says "Va'afkam zois b'yisam beretz loyveim loy ma'astim l'galtim l'chaloisam," and it's good question. You can ask people, is Matisyahu mentioned in Talmud Bavli? So is the answer yes or no?
Yeah.
Matisyahu ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol is mentioned in Talmud Bavli.
Yeah.
You say yes. You say no.
No.
You say no, so you don't have to say where, because you say no, not at all. You say yes, you have to say where. Yochanan is a later. Yochanan Gadol is all over the place, but he's the grandson, great grand. What's that?
It's not mentioned in the story?
No names there.
When it
Can't
says
do
in
a
the
whole Talmud Bavli, you didn't see it.
Who was Chashmono? Of the Malchus.
You say Shabbat and Shas. What?
Who was Chashmono?
It doesn't say so. Who is
separate person?
We'll see. So, So your base Chashmonai, the Talmud Bavli mentions that it's a family. So who is that? Is he the founder of the family? Is that a kinoi for someone?
It says there about the cheshbon, 180. The Gemara makes the cheshbon.
But I
It
learned
says in my Matzio, it doesn't say.
No.
years ago.
But we say when my Matzio Kohen Gudel, when Yechune Kohen Gudel, there was a person.
Yochanan Kohen Gadol was later.
There was a person
There's
Chashmonai.
no correlation between them.
Is Chashmonai a kinoi for Matisyahu, or is it somebody else?
Maybe it's someone else.
You'll see that later Midrashim understand it as someone else. Pashtus isn't. It's a last name.
This is the last name?
No, Chashmonai. His name was Matisyahu Kohen Gadol. Chashmonai is a kinoi. A kinoi is a last name. Not like.
Family name,
Yeah.
almost the name of a tribe.
We see that they're called base. Whenever you say the name of a family, it's base X. Was there?
What does it mean, Chashman? Chashman?
We don't know what it means. Just as we said last time, we don't know what Machbai means. Machbanai, Machba. We don't know what any of these names mean. It was a name.
Is there a historical reference to somebody in Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, that was a Kohen Gadol?
There was a Kohen Gadol. No. Yep.
Is there a list of the Kohanim Gedolim?
Yes.
Not incomplete ones. So that's the problem. When you have incomplete, you are no. Anyway, he is mentioned, and it's exactly in the Gemara that I just quoted, and none of you thought of it. I said it says in Gemara and Megillah, but Afkam Zayspir some Eretz Leifeim Loy Ma'astim is be Mekastim Shemadilam Daniel v'Chaverov. V'Loy Ga'altim is in the Malchus Paras that Shemadilam Mordechai v'Esther. L'chaloisam b'mei Yavanim Shemadilam Shimon HaTzadik u'Matisyahu ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol v'Chashmonai Yovanov. This depends on the Girsa in the so certainly some of the Girsas have v'Chashmonai, and that still doesn't have to be another person though. There's another Chiddush, another Einfall of Avram Levin. He said that a last name, today we're so used to last names, it's like part of your name, but a last name, what is last name's a kinoi. So it says Matisyahu Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol is a kinoi, and v'Chashmonai is a kinoi. It's one person going. He's just as he can be.
AKA.
Yeah, exactly. Just as you could have Matisyahu Kohen Gadol v'Tzadik. He's Kohen Gadol v'Chashmonai. We'll see later, and we'll see this in the second Medrash Chanukah, that it seems they, and again, I owe this to him, this was his chiddush, that creating this second character, Chashmonai, is from a misreading of that Gemara, the V, reading that V, meaning two people.
It says B'nai Chashmonai.
That's other Gemara, that other base Chashmonai.
B'nai Chashmonai.
Where?
In Midas, I think.
Okay. With the stones, with the base, not base.
B'nai Chashmonai.
You sure? Could be. I thought it was kind of base Chashmonai. It could be B'nai Chashmonai.
Chaim, the getter, and the coin.
Okay. Fine, so each time, Bavel, fine, and then he has Paras, Bachashverosh, that's the next one. Ba Malchus Yavanar Shah, V'Echshichas Yisrael B'Gzeresel. Gozruk, All Mish Yazgir Shemay Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yidaker B'Cherev. Anyone who mentions Shem Shemayim should be stabbed with the sword. Vayasham Shumid Echad Oyev Rasha B'Lial. Very bad guy. Oyev Rasha B'Lial. Tatnai ben Pachas Shemayim. Where's this name come from? You've got Tatnai, Pachas of Arnara in Ezra. Where Pachas is not a name. Pachas means the what's the sorry? Like in the Hakriveu no Lefecha. He's the Persian, and his name is Tat. Why they took Pachas from there and made it a name, and why they moved him to hundreds of years later. Modna, but okay. Tatnai ben Pachas Shmoi. Vayom Malabid Eitz Yisrael Rois Al Yisrael. Shneimar Marasayis Marasayich Machrivayich Mimech Yitzei. Or Lam Kozman Shisra Makrivim. Tamid Shel Shachar. Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. Every time they have the morning, evening. Tamid Einatam Yichoylim Lahem. So what they do, Timo Mispeach Uvitlu as a korban. That's the first gezerah. What's that?
Doesn't say how they were Mathana.
Doesn't say how. Second one, he says, Elakem Shel Yisrael Sayne Zimohu. Gazru Aleim Shkol Mishichtov Ksuba L'Ishto Yiskatu Etzbaisav. You write a Ksuba, they cut off your fingers. V'cheva, now they'll be prutzim bezima, they'll fall in your hands. Another thing, he says, they have another mitzvah. Hadlokas HaMenoyer of an Ereisah. Good. because it's lahalei sner tamid. They have to constantly do it. They stop doing it tamid, then they'll fall in your hands. Geshem shein ma'alin as ner tamid kachem mekayim tamid. Shkenksi miskayim dim toshanim. Ten chelek l'shiva v'gam lishmayna. What's the 7 and what's the 8? As long kozman shenoistim chelek v'beisi l'shiva neiros v'shomerim shmayna yomei achad. Eina nek arin ma'artzam la'olam. As long as they keep the 7 days, the 7 lights of the menorah, and the 8 days of Sukkot, they are going to be preserved. Now, I don't think we find this drasha elsewhere. Else we find the 7 days of Pesach and the 8 days of the Chag. We find the 7 days of the Chag and the 8 days of the Chag, because Sukkot is both 7 days and 8 days long. Because Jews are strange. Yes, how we can have a holiday that's both 7 days and 8 days long? We do. No, it is and it isn't. It is a Pesach Shav. It is for other things. It isn't. So it's 7 days and it's 8 days. You have Shivas Yamei Shabbos Shmonos Yamei Shmona Yamei Mila. I don't think you have any work site except here. 7 days of the 7 lights of the menorah and the 8 days of the Sukkot. Miyad Amdu Vit.
Maccabees, it says that they did 8 days of Sukkot. That year they weren't able to do.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That's separate.
They say they lit the menorahs and celebrated the 8 days of Sukkot. That's what
It says they celebrated it just as they remembered that during the days of Sukkot they had not been able to. There's no such thing as Sukkot Sheni. There's only Pesach Sheni. You miss Sukkot. You can't do Hashlam over there. They said they remembered that they didn't do Sukkot.
I was talking about the Pura Chag.
No, they didn't. Oh, here, it's not in. And you're saying not.
Maccabi also,
But
no?
the Maccabees, the language is that they're celebrating Sukkot.
You can't do the most of the Sukkot in. You can't do the most of the Sukkot in. So there's no. It's not Sukkot. It's not like. Yeah, they're remembering that we didn't have it. It's not a makeup. It's not, oh, we missed it, now we have to make it. You can't make it up. You can't. It's not. What is this? What is this? Pesach Sheni? There's no tashlumin for Yadav. It's you hear this a lot today. People say, oh, I know better. They say that. You think it's Neis Hashem. The real reason it's 8 days is because they couldn't celebrate Sukkot. I hear this a lot. They say they couldn't celebrate Sukkot, so that year they had to celebrate Sukkot. So what do you mean had to celebrate Sukkot? You can't celebrate Sukkot. When they were doing it, it says that they remembered that in the days of Sukkot they'd not been able to, and they felt that at least we're having a holiday now.
We still do Tshuva on Hanukkah.
One second.
Oh God, that's not that you can do Tshuva whenever.
No, but later there's a Shoshana.
Yeah.
I see there's so many questions.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm going to have to open the floor.
Open the floor.
And we're going to close the floor.
Let's get to the end of
Start
this.
asking questions.
How about let's get to the end of this first drasha?
Okay.
Okay. So what happens? No, you're not punished. It's okay. So what do they do? He says you have to do this. They're metami the mizbeach. So he says the oil for the miyad amdu v'timu kol shmanim sheba v'lo nishtayar el apach echad sheyachosem chaysam shel kohen gadol tachas mizbeach. Where's this from? Talmud Bavli. But you'll notice it's not going to give you the story of the Talmud Bavli. It's not interested in that as the story, as the Neis Hashem. Just taking that detail that there are metami the shmanim, and it gives it in a different context, in the context of the gzeirus that they're trying to do. You think you're plotting against the Jews, you're plotting against me. 7 of the 7 neiros, 8 of the days of the Chag. You want to be mavatal them. What am I going to do instead? Hareini ma'amid shiva b'nei chashmonai k'neged shiva neiros. She'atem roitzim levatel b'beisi v'etein eschem biyodam v'yikbu hillel v'shamai shmoinei mechanukah amapalta b'shoroshayim k'neged shmoinei me'achag she'atem roitzim levatel b'beisi. Modna. 7 sons of, what does he say, Chashmonai? Where do we have this anywhere? 5 of Matisyahu. 7 Chashmonai. He got it from the drasha. He has 7 days of Sukkot. He has 7 days of 7 lights of the menorah and 8 days of Sukkot. So he has 7. So 8 days of Chanukah correspond to 8 days of Sukkot. So 7. He's got to have a 7. 7 sons of Chashmonai correspond to the 7 sons. The 7 days of the menorah. When you make something up, you say, look. Stimmt. This is very good. And the Hillel and Shammaians do the Chanukah also. They live this life. What? Okay, this keeps thinking about the order of the Neiros, but this is not even Neiros. This is just talking about the Inyan of the 8 days of Chanukah. That's before the Elul Shammai. See, in Sidon, right? That's the Shnei Sekenim. Fine. Okay, good. Fine. This. What genre is this text? Would you say this is a narrative? This is a story? There's sort of story in it, but it's a drasha. It's a little bit of story with Tatnai ben Pachas and this is drasha, right? Sukkim and good.
They're also saying it's Reb Lozer.
Where?
Umar Reb Lozer, but
He's quoted at one point in the.
it's quoted?
But then he says what? He says Chavim, yeah.
Okay, let me open the floor for questions.
Yeah.
You really want to ask something?
You said it's quoted?
He says one line. Boy, Rovei Kama Chaviv Yisrael Te'Kodesh Baruch
it's not a quote, it's part of the measures, like Umar Reb Lozer.
Yeah, you think it's everything followed? No, I mean it's still. Oh, you're
As
saying
it may, it's like a part of this measures is like adding Medrushim in the name of Reb
right? That's
Lozer.
right.
And later, so other.
And then you're not saying that he's from there till the end of the medrash is the
No,
speed.
but-
No, yeah, exactly. It's
Just
a
like
style of
everything
Joshua.
else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is not a narrative. This is a totally different universe from Yosipon. Exactly right.
Okay, someone
Anyone else?
wants to ask something? Ik heb me gevraagd, dan kan ik niet
Is een alles gevraagd.
Okay, one thing, I don't understand why you, but someone mentioned that we know from that Yom Kippur, the Chanukah, the 8 days is like to be mashlam, the 8 days of Sukkot, yeah? That we so much with Sefer HaMakkabim, someone mentioned it, yeah?
It says they remembered that they had.
One second, someone mentioned
Can't be
it.
mashlim, so-
And one second, but someone mentioned this, I know what you said. And we had it now again also, but by this Keta,
Yeah.
it says, because you want to be Mavakel the 8 days of Hanukkah, Sukkot, I'm sorry, they're going to get the 8 days of Hanukkah. So you see again this Shaykhis. You said that they didn't, it was Mashlam because it's like, you're talking like a Isha Lacha now, saying you can't be, what do you mean, you can do what you want. Yes, it's not, we're not saying we're Mekayim Mitzvah Sikkis, but at the end of the day is we see, hence in the Sefer HaMakkabim, that they went with the Lolom and Esrogim the all 8 days. It was
It says the all 8 days.
They went to the Lolom and Esrogim.
There's no. I never said there's no shaykhs.
So why
There's definitely a
no, but not
shaykhs. Yeah.
shaykhs. This is why they made 8 days. Again,
It doesn't say they lived in the sukkah. They
So,
didn't
can I ask you questions?
mamish do sukkah.
I understand. I don't know why you. No, I'm saying.
Otherwise, why would they do 8 days?
What
Why would they do
they
8 days?
explain the 8 days against the 8 days of Hanukkah.
there's
The 8 days of Hanukkah, and that's connection. Why is the connection? The question is, what is the 8 days? Why is it 8 days? Why 8 days? Why not 7 days? Why not 1 day? So they say because against the 8 days of Hanukkah.
But it's not a hashlama.
No.
Shlama, it's like a shlama. They want to leave an essay. They want to leave an essay.
They're modeling their Hanukkah's bias on sukkahs.
When I was saying why are you refuting? It was like over here.
I'm saying because I hear people they say but they miss sukkahs. They say they miss sukkahs that year, so they had to. I say they also miss Shavuos. They also miss Pesach. It's not like it's a hashlama for what you missed. It's they have to decide what is the yontif. What's the yontif that's Chanukah bias? We talked about Rav Nagain. Dr. Ganaki says also he made on sukkahs.
Let him answer.
Why did he make on sukkahs? Is that period is the time when you're when of the Chanukah's bias Chanukah's mizbech.
Now, just like he said now.
Because they missed
you
it
asked the
that
question,
year.
why only that Yom Tov, why not the other Chag?
Yeah.
So you say, because this Chag is connected to the Chag for Chanukah, no problem. I'm just saying, I don't know what thing are you...
So I'm saying, look the other way around. Imagine that they had Sukkot that year.
Yeah.
Imagine that the battle had all been between Sukkot. Let's say the battle had broken out.
maybe
They
one
still
day
would have done.
Maybe one day
They still probably would have done.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if it's there, but I'm saying
Why are you assuming that? Why are you
is
assuming? I don't understand why.
because you look the Chanukah at the time of Shlomo is 8 days. At the time of Ezra, it's what 7 or 8. It's you don't do. At the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, it's 7 days. It's 8 days. This concept of how you make a Chanukah goes back to the very beginning.
But I don't know if you would make a Yom Tov from a Chanukah. Maybe it has to be only because we don't have a year. It's true Shlomo Melech was, but we don't do Shlomo Melech Yom Tov every year. In order to do every year 8 days,
he said it was on Sukkot, so we do.
I understand.
But in order to do it again, with the Shoyba actually is related. We do it.
I was saying before. Why did it say that?
That's also lights.
Calls much noise the Shomim Chessi Ma'achag. What Shomim Chessi Ma'achag? Shomim all the Yom Tovim. It says
It's because you need the drasha, the pasuk.
Yeah.
The Gamli Shmoina, it's the only eight.
It's not a story.
Exactly.
90% drasha,
Exactly.
10%
It's not. We're not trying to get history, or we're not a story. It's 90% drasha. They have a few lines of narrative. It's a drasha.
So then it's Makbil.
They needed an 8. They needed a 7. They needed the pasuk says 7 and 8.
That's how Midrashim work.
Yeah.
That's how they work. We can't start raising these kashas about
Create a
those.
story around the
Exactly. Second document in Medrash Chanukah.
Okay, till the next hefsik, as there's on mehr kasha, there'll be more kashas by the hefsik, then you should keep all your kasha to yourself.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, drasha's Charbam Tavei Belibam. Another drasha, but this drasha has much more story. You can see it's later than the first one because it builds on it. Charbam Tavei Belibam v'kashesai sam tisha varda. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, again that style of the drasha. Elu Yevanim, Shasu Bilchaman Beis Chashmonai, the Chashmonai family. Again, it's using that language from the Gemara, but not actually telling the story in the Gemara. Why does it say the Kohen Gadol was Yochanan? We know it's famous throughout Chazal. Yochanan Kohen Gadol. But he was later? That's Bias Sheni is Bias Sheni. How many Kohen Gadol could there be in Bias Sheni? I'm kidding. Yes, of course there were a lot, but I'm saying that what do you know? There are two. There's Shimon and Tzaddik and there's Yochanan Kohen Gadol. Those are the famous ones. Plug them into the stories. Yeah.
Every year wasn't it?
Exactly.
It's a name, like Yana is a name. Yochanan is a name.
Yeah, except that when you do look at lists, we do have other. Look at Para, you have your Yishmael ben Piyavi. There are other names, but the famous ones are the. Whenever they want to make a story, they will put in that. Okay, Yochanan Kohen Gadol, and his daughter's name is Chana. Where's this name from? Yeah. So now you've got two families. You got Matisyahu and you've got Chashmonai. Chashmonai is a son named Elazar, and Yochanan has a daughter named Chana. Good. So he has did they even have Mashoch Milchama and Bayis Sheni? Here there is. They need to make him another special kind. There's another special kind besides Kohen Gadol. Uvachal migdol Yevanim b'savas bivloi risa v'tzia sefer Torah uvikesh lavoy alav b'fnei Elazar arusa. Okay, it's a unit, but it's talking about one specific incident. It's not later. We're going to we see we're going to see the whole gezerah of the hegemon, like at the beginning of Ksubas. This is one story. You've got the Yavani. He's trying to grab. What's that? Spreads out the Sefer Torah under, and he's going to do the act on the Sefer Torah.
Okay.
Using it as the bed. It's Hitzia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uvigash lavala b'fnei Elazar rosa vayu yitzro mitzapim laharei mizrach. Ula yavoilam gayaso shaparsiim. They said, listen, if the Greeks are this, maybe the Persians will take us, will help us. Again, from a historical point of view, this doesn't make sense. The Persians had already been defeated long ago, and they're starting to have rebellions of the Parthians that you'd have to say a revolt's going to start. But I think we were revolting before the Persians started revolting. But fine, it was the other big empire. Fine, great. Obviously, reference to the pasuk in Elaharim. Chashmonai Kohen Gadol says, doesn't it say, don't trust other people? What should we do? He says, Amarlai, Ani Oimarlach, Hare Ani V'Shiva Banai. How do we know that Chashmonai has 7 sons? Exactly, because this is built. It's a komashniya on the previous medrash. V'ata v'gimel banecha. How do we know you have 3 sons? Hareinu kid beis shvatim shel Yisrael. We need to get to 12. So if I have 7 sons plus me, that's 8. Then there's you, that's 9.
You gotta have 3 kids.
You gotta have 3 kids. So we get you make the story. You make up the story so the numbers fit, right? It's the Rashi quotes this in Machatz Mosnayim Kamav. He talks about the 7 sons of Chashmonai and the 3 of Yochanan. The other one. Yeah, it's from here. Okay. So he says, fine. When Elazar is the son of Chashmonai, yes, who even remembers? Yeah. takes his sword. V'itis rosho Yavani v'amar Ezri me'im Hashem ha'iseh shemaim v'aretz. Good, fine. Kevan sheshama Gaskalgas melech Yavanim. Where's Gaskalgas melech Yavanim? Who was the king in Yosipon? Antiochus. He actually read history. Where's Gaskalgas from? So Gaskalgas is mentioned in Tosefta and in Seder Olam and a few places. Gaskalgas. So Gaskalgas is actually it's Gaius Caligula. Gaskalgas, who was a Roman emperor. Already very early on, this was forgotten, and they thought that he was some Greek king. So a Greek king. Let's plug in the name. So Gaskalgas. We have. Given Shema Gaskalgas Melech Yavanim. He's going to come with armies to fight again. Amar Rav Yitzchak Bar Nachmani, right? Quoting Amarayim. Amar Rabbi
How do you
Yochanan.
explain this quotation? Rabbi Yochanan, Yitzchak Bar Nachmani, Rabbi Yonason. What does it mean? You mean the Tana Rabbi Yonason? The Tana Rabbi Yonason? The Tana Rabbi Yonason? Does it mean the Tana?
Does it mean the
How
Tana? It's hard to know. Meaning,
No, I
here's a
explain.
What? Pseudonym?
Pseudonames like Yochanan.
So some of it, yes, some of it. Probably.
Why did they pick these names?
So I don't know. I know that this, if you look in Pirkei Blazer, Pirkei Blazer is very interesting work. Pirkei Blazer's 8th century, and if you look in it, there's a lot. Every time it quotes something in Chazal, it's always makbid not to quote the actual Tana who said it. If it says actually in the Mishnah or in the Midrash Halach it says Reb Meir, he'll write Reb Yehuda. If it says Reb Elazar, he'll write it's almost like he's hinting on you. You should know this is pseudonymous. This is a new style of Midrash where I'm writing the whole thing.
Okay, well, what is this? Why these names?
I don't know. I told you something about Pirkei Blazer. I don't know what's going on here. Could be something similar. I don't know. But I don't know. It's a good question. Certainly makes it sound like the style of Midrashim.
No, why?
Why these?
Yochanan, why Yitzchak Bar Nachmani is the first, second door in Eretz Yisrael, or the Bala Aguda, they're not so famous as the Bala Aguda. Why is it quoted?
So some of them, the one that we saw, Reb Lozer, in the first one, could have actually been something, he said it was something very general, it was a drush and a pasuk. These, where you're giving these stories, I don't know. Okay? Shishim Ribai Rosh Gayasos Ba'u Imayim Chalechad Bechad Elef
The question what I'm asking is, maybe it does show that there was an original member that is said. Maybe he added a lot, but
so for earlier, I think
original member that you can add.
So in the first one, in the first one, I thought.
Why should they pick?
In the first one, whereas Amar Reb Lazar Boyer Ekam Chaviv in Yisrael, that I think that makes sense. Here, where this story is based on that story, and this. I'm not sure. Yeah, but he's saying why specifically these? Okay, hold on.
I know.
Yeah. Zoe, we know.
No, the same thing, right? You got the same thing there. By here,
that's why it doesn't mean you don't know. You're reading us, and you're a little bit misleading us. If you're saying, trying to lead us away to see what they made this, and it's not mechir. It could be. It is based on real sources.
There's a few lines. You're saying that
and they fill it up. I'm not sure that it's right. The reading, just like made up everything.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is on a few sources. But it's not. You have to come to explain why you pick these names. It's not just a coincidence.
Maybe it is. It doesn't change this general. I'm saying. So I'm saying, good. It's a minor point. We're going on to read Piyyut. So I'm saying, I hear you. I'm saying it doesn't. Right. It's a style. As you say with everyone else, when there is a kasha, we never get to the Piyyut. So it's guilty as charged. Right? Okay. And now everyone's talking. Shh. Hey, the Spivos Yerushalayim, Amar Lam Gaskalgash, Leveis Chashmonei, Shaitim Yesh Lechem Shnei Masar Nashim. You have only 12 men who are going to fight with this thousands and thousands and thousands. Or do you think, Oshemet Oimro Elegechem Yovi Aleim Mabul, Keder Shev Yaldura Mabul? There's not going to, you think if there are only 12 of you can't fight them, maybe there'll be another Mabul? There's not going to be another Mabul. Oshemet Kechavim Yerdu V'yilachamu Imayam? Just that what you think that's going to happen? Or you think that Malch Gabriel is going to come and burn them up just as he burned Sancheiriv? Here's what we're going to do. Harein sachinas atzmam b'dam chazir. You rub pig blood on your flesh. Shein malach l'geichav negeh behen. No angel and no star is going to touch them because it's mias, right?
The terrorists.
Exactly. It's mias. So, Shema timer dubim v'arayos sigara behem, or maybe you think that your God is going to send the bears and lions. Kshem shegeira b'kusiyim. The geira arayos. He says
probably.
no. It's great. We'll write elephants. They're larger than the others. She'ein chaya shniya shelit ben. No other animals can touch. It doesn't mention here. It's dam chazir. Is it later where it talks about also shichva zera of susim? He says that's a mix of the. He says dam chazir shichva zera of susim. They mix this gross on them, but and then the malachim don't touch them, right?
Human beings don't want to touch them.
Even that we know, but they're saying it doesn't matter because only 12 of the human beings. So they that we already said they can't defeat them. So what happens? So the Jews pray, Rebbeinu Shalom, Golei v'yadol avanecha, she'ein anu betuchim loy b'charbeinu. We don't trust our swords, but rather b'shimcha gadol v'alalu rishayim. They say we nischakmu v'nisarmu al kol minei mashchis. We outwitted your God. You should do something. What am I going to do? He takes the angelic archons of the Shivim Umos. He binds them up with the Ritzua of fire, and he says, each one of you kill your own men. Fine. And then when they take out their swords to kill the Jews, this is Drashas Charbam Tavai Belibam. It ends at the end. Great. You made it that I can't destroy you because I can't bring a Mabul again, and the Malachim can't destroy you because they're not going to discuss. They're not going to touch your gross bodies when you put on them, and the lions aren't going to kill you because you have the elephants. So what am I going to do? You're going to kill yourselves. So it makes it that fine, and then say to them, Hashem yilachem lachem atem tachar bishun. More psukim, great, fine. Is this a drasha or is this a narrative?
We're calling a bit of Christians over here.
Where?
Right.
Yes, there are lots of references here.
A fictional narrative that you can see that it's fictional.
But you also see it's based on psukim. It's also a drasha. The first one is really nor a drasha, right? This is more, it's a drasha that's also making this sort of, as you say, fictional, also sort of surrealist.
But it's in the story narrative. The first one starts with the book.
Correct. We're moving more towards narrative. First one is really Nora Drasha. This is more of a narrative, with still lots of psukim. Then the third one, which is going to build on the second one.
Anyone else?
Then we get to the Piyyut. Yep.
It's not fictional. They felt as if there was
it's surreal. It's surreal. Yeah.
I think if it talks like a duck and smells like a duck and walks like a duck as a duck, it sounds like really Hellenistic sources, and the Ma'bai shiny this because Chazal never have this kind of language of talking like that with these kind of stories, gruesome stories.
Soak him with the.
Those stories are real. For me, it sounds a very Reich Hellenism Jews. The whole thing also that the dam of the Chazar, the Ma'az Shaboy is much more mentioned in these sources, and Hellenistic Jewish sources.
Is it?
Yeah. This thing of the Mias Macholos Asiris, the Macholos is not also because it's also because it's something very Maoist in that, disgusting, and all type of like these. Kind of crazy stories that you see. I don't think in Chazal you see such kind of stories. I'm just asking you.
So if you try to find me from Baishin and show me, I'll try to find from Chazal and show you. We both have homework.
The what?
I said, so we both have homework. You find the Bayis Sheni sources and
I don't have the source, I'm just saying.
No, I'd like to say, and I'll see if I can find Chazal sources to show that in fact that it could be Chazal.
I'm asking you. Does not the style show you? It's not Chazal. It's like
the style is of a medrash. The style is very midrash.
You can find this. You can find this either in Techilmut and Chuma or in.
Yeah, it's very. The style is very Techilmut. No,
Eichel, you can find this in Ben Rabbi Eichel.
Yes, the Gayosos coming and they're looking here and they're looking into the person.
It's very erratic stuff. But,
no, I don't think so.
Okay, what about the Parsium and the
What is your first comment before you said that maybe they had an original source? It would be a huge chiddush because you don't have even one. A lot of times when you have Lushanis, you find like one Lushan. But I just want to say maybe something similar to what he's saying. I think we spoke about it last week. All the Yotzers and everybody speaking about Chanukah, they speak about the Dalet Gulias. I know, just like as kids, where they teach us that Pesach at night.
Well, that's earlier. Until later, they start.
I'm saying Tisha B'Av. I'm trying to highlight this medrash. Tisha B'Av, we speak about all the Shudas for you.
Right.
It seems like Chanukah became at even this medrash's time to take every good story, every story that existed, and push it into Chanukah. Because even on Eichel, even Medrash Eichel that is very big, there are very unique stories to Eichel. Yeah. The same thing about Shleim. This seems to take that somebody takes every bad thing that ever happened to the Jews and every Ness that gets switched over to Ness and puts it into
which fits what I was saying earlier. But if they don't have sources, just throw everything. If you don't have specific things, throw Chris Gamsov into it and throw this into it. Throw something.
We're going to speak about all the tzudas every time somebody comes and we get saved.
I like that, yeah. But that fits into not having a specific. You're saying, and Achrabah, you have specifics where we say here. When we don't have specific, let's throw it in. Let's throw it. Let's read the next one.
I just want one more thing. Even Philip, even the name Philip is that Alexander the Great's father, which was known as a barbaric person.
His name was Philip.
Yeah.
No, but this is a historical Yosef. When we're looking at Yosef, he has sources. He has sources. Philip is a real name. I'm saying this is not saying that Yosef on Avad is based on Bayis Sheni sources. I'm distinguishing between Yosef on the one hand and this Medrash Chanukah, which doesn't seem to be. Fine. Third one, the third section of Medrash Chanukah. Just going to build another level on the other two.
As any Rishonim bring this Medrash Chanukah?
Yes.
It's a reliable.
They take it, yeah.
Okay. Can you name maybe one source from the Rishonim that bring it?
Does Rashi on Ksupas with the Tiboela Hegmon Tchila, does he say Kidei Isa he doesn't call it Medrash Chanukah. Does he say Kidei Isa Medrash?
Yes.
Check, he does. So then there you go.
The Rashi brings the Bola Hegmat Chila.
Well, that's in the Gemara. The Gemara says those words. I'm saying, does he say it's Bimei Yevanim Kidei Isa Medrash? If he does, then that's. But there are others. There are Kayach on Alanisim brings things from here.
It doesn't say it's the match. Rashi says Shagazi Yvon or Kolapsidus in the source. Doesn't.
He doesn't say the source, but let's read it. Tanuraban. Again, you'll find that in all sorts of you'll find all sorts of Maislach will begin Tanuraban because that's we'll throw that. Okay, good. But we're not going to see it. We're not going to see Amar and Pliny. We're not going to see Psukim. We're not going to see this is already a very different genre, right? The first one I said, is this a drasha or is it a narrative? You said drasha. Second one I said, is drasha or narrative? And you said right. The third one, well, we'll see. Bimei Malchus Yavin Rasha goes through Shmad Yisrael Shali Askim B'Torah. The first gzera is that they should not learn Torah. Master Yisrael Askim B'Tzina. Okay, so they did it privately. Anyone who has an ox should draw hariga on its horn. It's very strange language. Yes, so in Bereishis Rabbah and in Vayikra Rabbah, when it talks about the four Malchias, Bereishis Rabbah, it's in the context of the four rivers coming from Gan Eden. In Vayikra Rabbah, it's the context of the four Behemos Tmeya. So each, when it gets to Yavan, they have this story about writing Imam Chelak. What's draw hariga? It's very strange. What is draw hariga? So you look in one Yemenite version of the manuscript of this medrash. It says Yachkoik al Karnav Tzlav. Tzlav is hariga. right? It's the crucifix where you see that you see him killed on. So what's the?
This is before the.
Of course, it's before Christians, but the Jews know that the Greeks are Europeans, right? Europeans are due to avodah zarah are Christians. I'm saying it's not very historical, but I'm saying I'm saying earlier it probably said something like no, we know it says the Medrash, but they're imagining this is one of the ways why we date and place this in Italy. It's the arrogance being Christendom, right? It's imagining if they were trying to make us do avodah zarah, what would they make us do? That must be what they were doing. If you thought about it and you said, well, was this before Osas? Was this after Osas? They'd say, oh, you're right. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe that doesn't make sense. But or maybe they think that Osas was before Chanukah. The knowledge. The knowledge of the exact chronology was
very schwach.
Exactly, was very till the 19th century.
Right.
Your stories were what is Ibn Gedalia ibn Yachia with the Shalshelas Kabbalah says when he says when Rashi was a young man he went and he visited Egypt and he found that the Rambam was the Rav there, that Rashi died before the Rambam was born. I'm saying chronology was not their
Yirmiyah Melech
Platon, right? It's the good. Okay. Ma'asu amdu machlu kol shvareim. Okay, so they sold their oxen, then they don't have to do it. Fine goes around shalim moilas b'neiam shulkut yuchsheyuk they sheyibalos the sheiseb kshenidas uva'avoinas bitlu es ha'u. I don't know if it's uva'avoinas in the time or uva'avoinas in our sense. Bitlu es a tamid, bitlu es a tvila. Again, the bitlu es a tamid. You see, it's building on the earlier ones. Fine. And you have to put a crucifix on your house. Seems like instead of a mezuzah, it seems. Okay. So they tore out the rafters of their house. This is the Tiboila Hegemon Tichila. It says that every woman who gets married, the Greek governor is going to sleep with her first, and then she can go back to her husband. 3 years, 8 months. People didn't get married. People didn't get married because this is what's going to happen when they get married. So they don't have doors in their houses, and they don't get married, and they don't have oxen, and they don't have this, and some other living. So they say, here's how you do it. Where's this from? The Borchayo, where it's Sanhedrin, right? It's in Sanhedrin. It's the Nerdor like it's Borchayo. You know the Shua Ben. Good. It's taking the stories and it's making them in a narrative framework of these. And they say, and anyone who gets married, they say, that right? You have millstones on top, and that's the simon. So if you see millstones, then there's chasna, and if you see a candle, that there's a bris milah.
That's what a bata is.
What's that?
Yeah. A bata
is in memory of this. You're saying, yeah.
It means a stick.
Yeah, it's in memory of this, yeah.
They used to put a stick out of the window.
To show that the simcha's going on. Right. In memory of this idea, yeah. Fine. So v'asa Hashem yisal nes v'lo nitmeis achas be'em b'bnei Yisrael. Great. This works. That's a miracle, and you don't have any problems. Ad shabas b'tei shel chashmonai linasei. V'lo yochol nastira minishav aviak roiv l'malchus. So chashmonai, is this Matisyo? Is this Matisyo? Is it the Mechutna Matisyo? Do they know what's going on? It's a name. So so his daughter is going to get married. They can't hide this because Karev L'Malchus. They said we can't do anything about it. We're just going to sit here. We're just going to let this happen. So she has the idea. She's going to be the hero. אם אני הולך אז עכשיו אצל אויסר אורל ויפגם ויפגם אויסר יאמרו בני ישראל וכנחנו טויבס בביטה של חשמונאי שבגם עושה הגמון. I can't let this happen because then it's going to happen to everyone. This is going to be their trick that they waited 3 years, 8 months. Now it's going to prevent everything. They're going to be, we were able to secretly make weddings, and now if the hegemon comes and he's with me, then he's going to sleep with all the women, and it's going to destroy all of Klal Yisrael. So what does she do? She says, let me let my brothers kill me rather than letting the big chil Hashem. Masra atzma lahariga. Word hariga again, different meaning here. So she takes off her clothes. She wears smartut and rags, and she takes the cup and she's pouring to everyone. When they saw her, they said, "What are you doing? You look like." They say, "You're looking like a zayna. You're walking around wearing complete rags and pouring wine for everybody. What are we going to do?" She expects they'll just kill her, and then then it's over. So she says to them, "Ei tzadikim b'nei tzadikim chasidim b'nei chasidim, lama atem mispaishim mimeni." Note the language. We're going to see it later. Why are you embarrassed of me? Because I wore rags, I wore skimpy clothing, and you're not mispaish from Hashem Yisala that you're just going to give me over to the hegemon. You're the one. It's your fault. What you're embarrassed of me? You're not embarrassed that you're giving me over to let the hegemon sleep with me and ruin everything? Yehuda. Who's Yehuda? Seems this is her brother. Or maybe it's her future brother-in-law. It's what's going on. What they do, so they bring hadas, they bring all the thing. They pretend there's going to be a wedding. They bring chuppos from now some Chashmonai to Oiser Rosh the Hegemon. When he sees all the kavod, he says, "This is great. Alalu G'dolei Yisrael. These are the great ones. They're so happy about my cruel law." So he says, "Come here. Everybody leave. I'm going to celebrate with them. It's just me with Yehuda. We're all happy." Yehuda comes. He takes the sword. Ve'isiras Roshei cuts off his head. Where's this narrative detail coming from? From the previous story. What?
Yeah.
The previous story. In the previous story, his name was Elazar. Here it's Yehuda. No. Vayetzu Yehuda v'chaveru v'rod v'acharei me'akov ad nimrim. This is a detail that actually comes from an old Piyyut. These geographical features not important here. What's the name of the hegemon? We don't have a name. The Ikar Malchus of Alexandria shall be.
Geography is important.
What's that?
There's no Kehanim in the Gulul by Akko in times of when the people was written. That's when Kehanim used to live in Gulul. But in those times.
Interesting. Really? Why not? How do you know? How do we know?
That's what Shalom Delitzir says.
Okay, that's in that article Haishkich in that 9-page article about Medrash Chanukah.
That there was no Kehanim during Akko, whatever they did later.
I've read the article many times, but it's not. The last time was probably 10 years ago. So okay, very good. But the hegemon doesn't have a name. But what happens? Part 2 of the story. So there's a big. They have a big battle, and it ends with I think it's from Yoma. Sota. Yatsa Baskel mi beis Kodesh Kadashim Amora Nitzachut Alaya Lagacha Krava Bantuchia. It's from it's inside the door where it says Nemar Mechalosha.
It's quoted from Megillah.
Is it
Chalyon? There's Chalyon on the Megillah.
On which date?
I don't know which date.
It's one of the. So this is placing it. This is putting it at the time of this Chanukah battle, if we want to call it that. That's part 1 of the story. The hegemon has no name. It's part 1. It seems to be a new story. Part 2. This is going to be based straight on what we saw Yehudas. What we went through the whole story last week. I
think it's a very important context a little bit in this whole thing. And I don't know if you want to give this context. I'm just saying that like someone could listen to what you're saying and thinking that the whole Chanukah was like a Chadla Badla story, and it was the build like this and that. This is the way that when you read it, you say, okay.
When I'm reading Yosipon, I said he's dealing with good sources. I said Yosipon, yeah.
I understand, but we have to understand that it's only when we try to find written down in a Mesidic way the Makoros. That doesn't. This is not the. These texts are not the mechonanim and being Mayasa, the Chag of Chanukah. Chanukah is a Chag with the sources.
Of course it is.
without
Of
the
course
sources.
it is.
Okay?
They kept Chanukah.
So it's very important. No one's
Chanukah is in the Mishnah.
It's very important. Chanukah is in the Mishnah,
Yeah.
and Chanukah is with the sources and without the sources.
Yeah.
And everything we do Chanukah.
I never disagree with that.
Now, maybe we don't have enough sources on Chanukah. We're limited in a lot of things. We don't have enough sources. One of the big questions, why isn't mentioned so much? Okay, fine. So we have our sources, but don't think, that's not the whole Chanukah is not based on some type of collection of like...
So you're saying this not as a kasha of me, you're saying that the oilam shouldn't think when they hear me, you're saying.
Context.
You're saying the oilam shouldn't hear this and say, oh, so Chanukah is not important.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, you're saying it to them, not to me.
I'm saying it's very important to you.
Yeah, to them. To the oilam, that's true. People hear this and they think, oh, it's all made up. No, I'm saying that they didn't know. They didn't know, and therefore they created more. And that's fine.
This year it's not such a problem because the Yom HaBizman we just had Nissim and it's Yisrael with the Machama, so we're not going to be Michael and Chanukah anyway.
So we don't need to make up stories, then you're saying.
Are there any outside
Making up.
Oh, we can still make up stories.
Until today.
Are there any outside sources?
It's not making stories, because the stories that you think it is also made up. Everything's made up. What's the difference? I'm saying, it's a story of Chanukah.
Absolutely.
You're not saying it's make up story. We're not making up. This is the way that we write literature.
The way making up. Tell.
Yeah, today you call it making up. Not making up anything.
That's so nice.
Stop recipe.
Good. Okay.
Shabbos Chanukah.
Yeah, Shabbos Chanukah. Make sure to make something.
Yeah.
I'm not cozy.
Okay.
Ah, you went down that lane, so what do you expect?
I went down.
Who went down?
I felt that it's important to give this context because you're going down that.
Nobody was going down.
Excuse me, I heard someone say it.
Nobody said so. Now we don't have to do
So don't say nobody said it.
Nobody's saying so.
We don't say that. I'm trying to explain. It's like it's a little childish when you don't understand. This is how it used to be old stories.
Right.
You're losing the languages of today. Saying, okay, this is history. This is not, and you're trying to say that. No.
Right. That's all I'm doing. I'm using the language today because we are today, but I'm not saying that to think. Right. No. This is.
Maybe when we were
Going to go.
This is talking about their. Well, look, we saw their dashing. Sukkim. This is right. Good. Third part. Yehudis. So again, clearly, somebody's reading Greek, somebody's reading Latin. But there's some important differences here. Kevan sheshoma Eli Fornos Melech Yavanim Shar Goagman Shaloi Manashav. What did we see last time when we went through the story of Yehudis as it is in the Greek and then in the Latin? Who's Holofernes? We said, who did we say it was? He was the general. And the general in Ashur, right? This says he's Melech Yavanim. Who's Melech Yavanim according to Yosipon? Antiochus. Who is Melech Yavanim according to Droshas Charbab David Belibam? Kaskalkas, yes. So we got a lot of contradictions here. Now it's because he's been promoted from a Persian general to a Greek king. Good. Amatz Bekiv is called Gayaso Shalom V'Chayalosov Uvav Chanal Yerushalayim V'Yusram Be'ebam Fachad Gedoyla. Fine, they all do tshuva. This is straight out of the book of Judith. Oske B'Torah.
They didn't have Yerushalayim.
Who didn't have Yerushalayim?
Judas.
But the story doesn't take place she's not in Yerushalayim, but that they were camping outside. It says at one point they're trying to take
The
Yerushalayim.
city. There was no Yerushalayim in that story.
Yerushalayim is mentioned in the book of Judith. She's not in. She's in Bethulia. But it talks. The whole reason they're fasting is they're worried it's going to destroy the Mikdash. They're not in. The main action doesn't play in Yerushalayim, but they say he's on the way to there, and if they take Bethulia, he's going to then take Yerushalayim and destroy the Mikdash. But here, you're right. It is the action is moved such that actually is Yerushalayim. So everything's promoted. Bethulia is promoted to Yerushalayim, the capital, and he's promoted from a general to a king. Inflation, right? Title inflation. Good, we have everything. We have Achior. You said Achior sounds like Hebrew name, Achi, with the Aleph, Ches. He spells it with the Ayin and the Chaf. Yeah. Okay. So he tells them, what we said last time, he says that if they keep their rules, you're not going to be able to feed them.
Oh, he's an astrologist.
Right, that's added here. That wasn't in the. So he says, we had two women here. For one was the daughter of the Kohen Gadol, one's Yehudis. The language is very similar between the two. In the first one we had, she's Mosra Atzel Shemayim, and that she undresses in front of her brothers, embarrass them. What's Yehuda's going to do? She's going to undress in front of Holofernes. And what do they tell her? She goes to the guards, Amrullah. That's exactly what the daughter of the Kohen Gadol said to her brothers. Or maybe you fell in love with Holofernes, with the general. She says, Chas v'shalom. I'm my kavados l'shem shemayim. What Avram Levine said is, you see, not only the second story is Yehudas. He thinks the first story is based on Yehudas. That it's based on. So what the author has done is he's taken a story. He starts with a story based on Yehudas, and then he has the story of Yehudas. He combines them, and the connection is very schwach. The connection was, and then there's a battle, and then they came in. They defeated, and then the king heard about it, and he came. It's like a shaggy dog story. It begins.
This sounds a little bit more like Esther Amalka, with a different ending, a different.
That doesn't connect right?
He doesn't
Yeah,
chop
but
the head
it's a
off.
different. Takes a different turn.
Right. So fine, it's the whole story. She says that I'm from a family in Nevi'im, Kohanim. Fine. And they go through, and we read through. It's basic. It's based on the story we saw in Yehuda, so we don't need to read this in Avenik.
Yeah.
But we have at the end. Let's just go to at the end. Miyad paschul hashar v'nichnasav v'samuchu Yisrael simcha gedola. V'nosnu shevach l'kadosh baruch hu. V'cheiban shala amud hashachar. In the morning, niskabtzu Yisrael b'vatei kenei sios v'vatei medrashos v'hispalalu. V'achar kach yatzu aleihan v'amru b'kol gadol shma Yisrael shem l'kei Hashem echad. When the Machne Yavanim heard this, they're very scared, and they said, "Oh, are they going to fight us?" They went. They found the king doesn't have a head. Front for Yisrael Chareim, Vargu Me'am La'ein Mispar Ve'in Minyan, Ken Yiratzon, Misha Asad Nisim La'voiseinu. Hu Yasei Madu Nisim V'niflois V'naimar. Amen. And with these sources, we can now see Yotzer L'Shabbos Chanukah. So, we're now in Europe. We're now looking at what do European Yotzer L'Shabbos Chanukah look like. This is probably the first of them.
What time?
10th century. 10th century. We know it's after Yosifan because he uses Yosifan, but we know it's before Rashi because Rashi quotes it in Yechezkel.
Did you leave out pieces from this medrash now?
Did I what?
Did you leave out?
In the Medrash, no. In Yosifan, I did.
No, did you leave out from, because all the Gemudas about Miriam Basbilga,
Yeah.
there are enough Gemudas about the Jews and the Yevun and Pri Tzayamaini.
There are little bits here. So there's one, none of that makes it into this Medrash. There's one Baitan who tries to put together things like that, and that's Menachem Bar Mocher. But most of them don't. Most use this Medrash Chanukah literature. These sources, Yosifon and the Medrash Chanukah literature, in different ways, and they'll combine them in different ways. So we start with this Yosef Bar Shlomo of one manuscript in Oxford says Mikarka Shona, which I don't know if it was Tzutzer Shadal. One of those 19th century scholars said it's Carcassonne in very, very southern Provence. We don't find the Piyyut anywhere in Provence. We find it in we find it in Rome. We find it in Ashkenaz and Tsarfas and Poland. Based on the distribution of it, it would make most sense if it's in Italy because then it spreads to those lands. That would also make sense of knowing Yosifon so early. It's quoted by Rashi when it says there's a line my SS call eitz in Yechezkel. What does that mean? That which rejects every wood. So he says this is a kinoi for cherev. As it says in the Piyyut, this says Mimoy SS eitz. And the pasuk is my SS eitz.
Talking about the sword.
Right, correct. Right, he speared him with that which rejects wood. All wood,
which destroys wood.
Yeah, so it. So in Yechezkel he uses the phrase "Moyes kol eitz." Rashi says this means a sword. How do we know? From this Piyyut. So that's how we know that the Piyyut's before Rashi and after Yosifon. So again, that gives you 150 years, but you could more or less say 10th Also, you'd have to also say it has to be right in the middle of that period. Yosipon's presumably known well enough that he's going to put it in the daven. This is a chiddush. It's not just, okay, we read history, we read Yosipon, we read things. He's putting the, don't forget, this is in the davening. This is in the bracha Yetzer Or. Don't forget that when you say, it's not just like some historians, and this is, it's already accepted enough. And also for Rashi to say the meaning of the pasuk in Cheskel is, as you know in the Piyyut, it means he knows the Piyyut, and his Olam also knows the Piyyut. So he must be right in between Yosipon and Rashi, so you're saying sometime maybe late 10th century. And we'll read through it. It would begin. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Yetzer Or v'nechai shech oiseh shalayim v'rei esakayil oiroi la'amoi tza'ar chayim oiroi smeyai ve'lomar vayehi. Imagine yourself now, you're in the call.
Oidcha ki anafta.
Oidcha ki anafta. You're listening, the chazan saying, Oidcha ki anafta v'toshav. This is a pasuk, of course, from, what's it? It's from Yeshaya. The last day Pesach, we say, Oidcha Hashem ki anafta bi. In many later texts in the Piyyut, but the Fusim, you find it says Oidcha ki anafta bi v'toshav. And in fact, when you look in many secondary literature, much secondary literature where it quotes the Piyyut, the Piyyut's called Oidcha ki anafta bi. The word's not in there. How do we know that that's wrong? How many words are there in every line? 4. Every single line. Are there any exceptions? Does it ever combine small words?
It's Merubah.
Yeah,
no.
Kodesh, Kodesh. There is sometimes.
No, the Kodesh is not part of the. Right.
No,
never. Even Kol, even S, even Gam. So B is wrong. And in fact, it's not in the best manuscripts. That affects though the name. I'm saying we call Piyyutim by the Psicha. So people say, it's in the Piyyut Oidcha ki anafta bi. So even in the name's wrong.
Do we have other Piyyutim beginning with Oidcha ki anafta?
This is the most famous of them. You could. I'm saying it's the kind of pasuk that it's a prayerful pasuk. I vaguely. Do you know where you would look? Where's the first place you would look to answer that question? Well, yes, Google's the first, but who's the first place you look at? But what's if you're lucky, where will Google send you? So David sends Yetzer Shira Piyyut. You know this resource? Anyone heard of this? You know it? What? You're nodding your head.
David sends
Yisrael David sends Yetzer Shira Piyyut. So you look all those that were known by 1920. That's the problem. So of course that's why I didn't say it's the last place to look. I said it's the first place to look. So
I think Rashi quotes. Does he quote Oidcha ki anafta, or he just quotes Mamayasas?
Mamayasas, but I think he might say he might say Piyyut Oidcha ki anafta. I think, yeah. Mamayasas says, yeah. That's Yeshaya. That's Yeshaya. Achron shel Pesach, yeah. Hinei kel Yeshua siyaftach lo yafchad. It's a that.
Oidcha Hashem. Enough to be you should upclose on my son. These Yeshayas.
Yod. What? Yod Bais?
12:1.
It's the middle of the Haftarah, yeah. It's actually, as a side point, just on that Haftarah. So Rashi says in Megillah, when it talks about that Haftarah, I think he says, because it's talking about the overthrowing of Sancheiriv, and that was on Pesach in general, this is the last day. But if you look at the Haftarah itself, it's actually very, very appropriate for Achron Shel Pesach. But obviously, Shvi and Achron are the same thing. That's just two svega the opposite. It says, V'hidrich b'na'alim v'yikol l'shivah chalim. They're going to cross these rivers to get into Geula, and then they're going to sing. Ki oziv zimras ka Hashem va'ili lisha. It's directly parallel like Chris. It's a great haftarah for Achron Shel Pesach. You don't need to say because Sancheiriv was fell on Pesach in general. It's for that day. Good. You tended your ear to hear my cry. To blow my enemy like straw in the wind, in the violent wind. Avina. I recall all the days of old which befell me when the sin became red, when became stained red. I'm going to talk about them. I'm not going to sleep. The chazan's got to be exciting if you want the people not to sleep, because only he's saying it in this period.
This is the Medrash.
He's turning the Medrash into song. He's turning the Medrash into tefillah. Note, it begins, the Midrashim are all that this happened, this story, this drasha. He begins, Oidcha, he's standing there in prayer. The situatziat siach, the speech situation of the this tefillah.
It's like a play.
It's like a play, but it's specific. And whom is he addressing in the play? The Rebbeinu Shalom. Oidcha kianafta. Of course it's like a play. Asichat sorais v'nikmas anti-yoichas. Why anti-yoichas? Rhyme. Do we find such thing elsewhere? Maybe a little here, but he has the rhyme. Where's he getting this name from? From Yosipon. From Yosipon, right? Ibach chasidai u'mshichai nochas. What's Ibach? You know Yechezkel, no? You only know that passage.
Isaiah, that's all.
But you quoted my SSA.
55.
Ivchas Cherev is in. Ivchas Cherev appears in Yechezkel. I think it's somewhere in the teens. Ivchas, the slaughter of the sword. Ivchas, Tivchas. You know, so they say Adbach. It's like you could. So did Atbach existed then? I don't know. Atbash they say, what's it called by in Yirmiyahu? They Kastim is Lev Kama, but Atbach I don't.
Elephant tests are closely related in some.
Elephant. Oh, in the scripts. So you think really he wrote a and today on the keyboard, today on the computer, you know, they're right next to each other. Right now, Cheskel meant to write Tivchas. He meant to write Tivchas Cherev. His finger slipped on the wrong key, so it says Tivchas Cherev, and because of that, now because he was a Navi, now we have a word. So the Paytanim can write it, and that's enough. All because the Ta'ot HaKlada of the right
of the keyboard
of Yechezkel. Exactly. Good. U'meshichai nachas from Lashon Targum. Shachat is nachas, right? Evile amiki kritzuni larchas, when they badmouth me, when they're moushing me. Yachalu bekartza in Gittin. Also in Daniel, you have the Yachal Kutzeyon Shel Yehudai. Yeah, laharchas, to make me perish, like Ksuma the Irkasa, to make me lost. See how clever he's using these shirashim, and listen, he needed a rhyme. What do you rhyme on Antiochas? Not too much rhymes on Antiochas, right? Laharchas does. What's Laharchas? Oh, Ksuma the Irkasa, to make me perish.
It's a get, right?
It's
Menazil.
Irkasa what?
Yeah. By Fatima, he says that the person, when he gave him another wife, it was he divorced his first wife.
Oh, with Yeshua, with the laser, it does Erkasa? No. Tarichin? No, Tarichin means Tarichin is garish. No connection.
Tarichin is good.
Tarichin, we write in the Igeras Tiruch, the Shibukin, right? No, two words. This is a much more obscure word. That one's,
yeah. You talk about that.
Yan v'yetz to say blodois, but my rechvim should say lapidois, my face arais bianich badais, kadosh. What's this going on? Why is he interrupting after 3 stanzas Kaddish? So we saw earlier.
Into Kedusha here now.
Well, we saw earlier when we were looking last week. If you remember, I have one copy of it, and I brought it with all Parish and Chilufei Nuschos because somebody had a question. Was it you who asked the question about something? Probably. It was probably. Yeah, it was probably you. And if we remember here, after every 3 stanzas, you remember it broke it with something, and it said something, Kaddish, something, and then at the very end you would end Kaddish because you go straight into Kaddish. If you look in this Piyyut, he's in Europe. The liturgy has already developed that they're not replacing and they're not writing simply their own liturgy, they're adding. This is the first Piyyut ever, historically, where we see that they're adding the full, what do we say on Shabbos? Before that. Right? So what are the last words here? יחידך בידיך סלף בדוך, בעלי מייסה סיגבוך לי בדוך, משבי הדרירם, והכל יודוך, קדוש, הכל יודוך. It's, it's the, yes. So he's clearly already having that. So why does he have kadosh? Mikayach HaMasiris. That this is how you write the Piyyut. He doesn't do it though after every 3.
What?
HaMasiris. The tradition.
Even, you used to do like this.
So that's how we still do
So we
it.
still do, even though we say Kudish.
Much later, we say it several pages later.
Even though we don't replace the Kaddish.
We nonetheless, that's how you write
It used to
it.
be because replacing the Kaddish.
Right, and then it would go straight, and then the Piyyut, when the Piyyut ends, immediately you'd be at the Piyyut. Here though, this is the tradition, this is how you write it.
I mean, you immediately by the important.
Immediately, when the Piyyut would end, you'd end, Kaddish, 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 the Kedusha B'Yitzah. Congregation.
It used to be.
We used to be.
Right.
But the tradition is you can. That's why when you have to understand these things, you look at it. Why we had to start with the whole intro shiur, where we looked at older Piyyut. You can't understand late Piyyut until you understand old Piyyut. You're building on top of it. It's like somebody asked me on Shabbos when I was showing. We had a chazzanut Shabbos, and afterwards Friday night. Oh, you did Joe? This Shabbos, yeah, very nice. And afterwards, I showed them the Shalom Caleb library. He was my Rebbe in chazzanut. Areini kaparas mishkavai. Yeah, in January. Yeah. And
Where and why you?
what's that? He was in Baltimore. He was working on his own. He'd been a chazan in Chicago, and so he. I would go back and forth from New York and Baltimore to work with him, and now I have his library. Much of it, well, not everything has yet been driven to New York, but like I tell you to my friend over here for driving the U-Haul and helping me tremendously in packing all the filing cabinets and the books and so someone says, what's going on and why is it important to understand what he did, what Reb Shalom did was showing how you looked at each of the nuschais from different places and saw how they were common and what was in common and what was standard. So someone asked, what if he found something that didn't fit in it at all? Did he say that was wrong? I said, it wasn't wrong. He didn't say it was a toast. He said, that wasn't the main tradition, what I'm trying to put in the book. What's the point of the book? Because you have to know the main tradition, and then you can see outliers. You have to know where it all begins. And I said, it's if you don't know that, you end up being like academics who don't know the Gemara, and they read Rambam in Hebrew, or they read him in English, or they read whatever, and they look and they'll say, they don't know anything, and they'll say, Maimonides writes that you should wash your hands before you eat bread and before prayer. He must be influenced by Sufi notions of purity, and that's the tradition. That's the halacha from the Gemara. He's based on the tradition. You have to know what came from earlier, so then you can know what's new, what's the chiddush in him, what might he be influenced by his surroundings. So here too, we had to begin to understand what's the Kaddish. That's not this Paytan writing. That he's writing because you all have to write it. Why is it only after the third and the last though? We used to see it was after every 3 stanzas. So in many piyutim, what you had was, in some you did indeed have a different one every 3 stanzas. In other old ones though, you had one that repeated after, you had 3 stanzas and then a Kaddish stanza which was refrain. And then another 3 and that same one, and another 3 and that same one. And only at the very end would you have a different one. Verstanden?
Shmoy Meflarim goes like that.
What's that?
Piyyut of Shmoy Meflarim.
That Dafka doesn't. That is a different.
There's a pasuk that keeps on.
Different. No, he has different ones every. He has different ones every.
So there's the 3 psikim in the front.
There's 7. There's 7 at the front, and then there's 7. There's 7 units, and each, and then after each 3, he has a different Kaddish stanza.
Okay.
He Davka is doing the model like this, where it's a different one. But in many of them, it was the same one. It was just the same one that repeated, and only the last one was different.
So you used to say a lot of times 3 times Kudish, also Kudish.
That's just that was a unique minhag of but he's the only one we find in that. It seems to be some unique minhag in his community.
But that's how it starts. You're saying because it makes sense. But you're trying to. They're all mirroring.
Not necessarily. He has 3, but we might have, if you have a long period after every 3 stanzas, it could be 20. I'm saying what you have. I'm not saying they said Kodesh.
The oldest one that we have is simple Kudish. That's what I'm saying. Yana is.
He does have that's something. It's a different phenomenon. It's always glad when people know. What's your name?
Shai.
You're Shai. Okay. No, it's good because it's true, but it's something different from what's going on. That's at the end. That's at the end once you're actually in the kedusha. This is leading up to it. This is the earlier. He doesn't put them in his kiklar earlier in the kedusha. He puts that at the very end in the kedusha itself. We're not in the kedusha, the Piyyut kedusha and Piyyut tes. He does that. He doesn't do that earlier in the kedusha. He doesn't. Meaning, first you introduce everything, and finally, when you get to the kedusha itself, that's Piyyut tes. That's where he repeats 3 times. There. This is the okay. I think we have everybody. Everyone's in the dust when we're talking about this way. Anyway, so when it repeated, what did they do in Europe? They wanted to save time. They already, because things were different. It's not. It was. They didn't want to repeat it after every 3. So if it was the same one, they just said it once. After the first 3, and then they had 1 at the end. So then, when they wanted to write new piyutim, they just wrote 1 after the first 3, and 1 at the end. Even it's very clear that this doesn't repeat because it just continues the story. That he made fiery horses. The Plodes is in Nahum, I think. It's a word for fire. Those who are they have the Azorim, they have the belts of fire. My face house. This is the my face that they show in the holy city, Kadosh. We saw the Paritzim. The bad Jews, they came to the Lashain. To slander us, to be malshinas. B'chori af hamelech Lashain, to get the incense, get him angry, incense him, get the king. The adla hachris shurutze Goshen, the one who says vayishritzu in Goshen. That's Klal Yisrael. He is going to end them. We multiply in Mitzrayim, and he's going to cut him off. He comes, he's furious, and he comes suddenly. It's
interesting that he said already on the Keta before, about the Halshana, and
he says it again.
And it goes like to the Sisek Blood, then it goes again back to the Halshana.
It's probably because the Kadosh interrupts it's the structure of the Piyyut affecting how he tells the story. You don't find that you wouldn't find that in Yosipon. You could say it once, but he wore out my flesh, and he terrified my life. Terrified. Al tishta ki itcha anochi in Yeshayahu. What?
Don't be afraid.
Right. By Yorim Chubesi Kabehim Olasa. We see this in Yosipon, and then that was from who's the one who's book in magazine? There's 1 or 2. The Hasidim hiding in the
ate grass.
That's high. That's 2. Yeah.
Grass,
Yeah. He doesn't mention that detail, the grass, but
probably means.
Okay, good, yeah. Wandering around, it said explicitly, like behemoths. It says to stop me from keeping the bris, to hold on to his pestle, his idol. Gazar. Mi b'chazir yefagel, he's gonna be mefagel himself. He's gonna be mefagim. He's gonna defile himself with the chazir. Gam moishech orla la'agel, and also the one who rounds out his orla, extending it out. So we did not see that in Yosipon. He talks about not doing the bris, but actually moishech ba'orla.
General Hellenistic.
Gemara's talk about moishech ba'orla, but not in Sanhedrin, not in Chelek and Olam Haba. The idea that at this time in the persecution they were doing it, so that's in. So it's in the old Greek. It's in. That's in 1. That's in 1. The moishech ba'orla. Yeah. So wait a minute. So what does this mean? So Avram Levine thinks. When I showed him this, he says, well, there you go. He must have read Greek or Latin.
Yeah, he must have.
But I said, because he has this one detail, I said, could be, but lav davka. The concept of Moshech Orla exists in the Gemara. And once you're saying that he's punishing everyone who has a bris, did that make sense that people would?
They would reverse.
Yeah, meaning I don't think you actually need the source to come up with it on your own. So it's very interesting that it's a detail we find only in the Greek sources and then we find in the Piyyut. I don't think this on its own proves that he...
Because if they were gladiators, they were Moshe Balusa, so it's related to the Greeks.
Related, but not... You're saying you could come up with it yourself. You could come up with it. It's not in the Hebrew sources, but you could come up with it yourself once... Yeah, because it's a way to hide.
the concept.
Right.
Where's that said that it says that you shouldn't, when you go to a bath, you should go, a Jew is supposed to be naked because he shouldn't be embarrassed, because there is a
where? There's the thing in Menachos, but David Melech going to the bath, that's different when he sees it.
Not allowed to go covered because you'll think that he's embarrassed.
Where?
Wie der Gemüse. No, it's like a shame mit der Miele.
Right. Where's that?
It's in the Rishonim.
He's in the Gemara though?
No, in the Gemara. Mit Beispielen mit der Miele. Doesn't want to answer.
Doesn't want to answer. That's the... Because you don't talk about the Menachos with David Melech with the... He doesn't... That's different. You're these come from Lam Nazel Shminis because they're right. Okay. Anyway, Gviyasam lahashir, to keep their bodies, v'hamamain milasagel, not to allow anyone who refuses. Goy olu b'fas bagoy uve'elil, if they became goy olu, it's spelled with an aleph. You occasionally like in Malachi, usually it's with an I, and it's not redeemed. It's the other they made themselves mias. They b'fas bagoy with his food uve'elil and with his idol chiyai kept them alive. Govru v'sumam, people who were kept in their tamimis. Shasli Shia, he sent them to desolation. Godah v'chila noitzrei sushia. He cut down, he hewed down those who kept the Torah. Giviroi shtayin b'neihem. What's that? Molo, this story. Right? This is all straight. Is this Medrash Chanukah or Yosipon? All this. What we've seen so far. Yosipon.
What's about this comma? This comma, the little chia is the comma is.
I put the comma.
Anyone,
those who made themselves mias with his food and his idol, he kept alive. It's not he kept alive his idol. I put the comma to.
No, Pasbag.
Pasbag is from Daniel. It's the right.
It's the moved sign.
Yeah. It's the same thing. They're hanged for their breasts because they circumcise their sons. Gurim, the children. I mean, it's using. Listen, in English, do we say kids? It's using animal terms for humans. Straight from there. Also want to say, while there are some hard words here, like laharas, a lot of this, if you're listening, and you have decent comprehension of Lashon Kodesh, you can understand the story.
But did the people then?
Some did. Then as now, there are all sorts of different levels of understanding in the Kelash. Dibev. Da'avti al nafshecha. I feel bad for your life. Darosh. Mi besar kodshecha. I'm going to ask you to eat your own zevach. Daim, just be quiet. Kamoi amanti, as if you're saying, I believe it. Not shecha, Leave you alone. Dileif, he cried, he wailed. Ben tishim anoichi. Dechol elaikai b'mirma tamlicha. You telling me to revere my God secretly in a trick? Tivarecha galei. Keep your words away. Znachtim milafchi. I've rejected them. They're not going to turn me over. And now, here comes an interlude. We were dealing history. Now we're dealing prayer. Halozeh. Yeches tzadik darkoi. In medieval Europe, there's also a lot of shmad and a lot of pressure and a lot of persecution. Is this why the tzaddik keeps his way? Habachur Yosef Oimetz Birkai. And the young man, he keeps his knee strong, that he's not going to bend. Hayashish b'shurai, when he sees the old man killed, Be'arkai. Hal eile loy sifkai. Hatzafir hasoir bacharoinach likoid. Sa'ir is and Tzafir Utzfira Izimigdil Ad Ma'id in Daniel is Yavan, because they're the two. I mean, again, looking into a later time period when the Roman Empire is split into two, the Greek half and the Roman half, because this is tefillah. This isn't just. Look. This isn't just. It's. He's standing in front of the Amud, and he cries, "Haraish v'regel, Yog, aren't you going to destroy Yavan and Sa'ir? Haraish v'regel, Hazakan v'hakad kaid, Habeit uzchur kol hatla'a, Haisiga adas tzaylei avna hala'a." We're crippled here in these situations. Look, see all we're going through. Ha'la'olamim tiznach l'rabas chel. Are you forever going to reject the one who suffered much chelamia, sickness, and also Yechezkel words. Yechezkel words like mios. What? It's tuma. What? Yeah. It's from Tehillim also.
Also
Chelav and hala'a. Where?
I have to look it up.
Yeah. Right? Now he's back to history. After my little prayer, gets everybody to cry. He says, let me tell more story. Mikrei shiv'ah v'asikim v'achim timimei de'ah. So 7 good brothers, v'asikim. Who's this? This is the Ish of Yiladeha. V'kalam, he burned them ba'esh b'shav nis'ah for a false string. Because they did not eat from his sacrifice. They clung to the one who made the world with his strength. We even see the language, he's taking the language directly from Yosef. In his cruelty, he cut them. He fired up a bronze machmas, a fry pan. He's cutting up the first one piece by piece. In the toisach, the some kind of weapon. I mean, modern totach is a cannon, but that's not. It's a weapon mentioned in Eov at the end where it's talking about the Leviathan, and it says, "Can you destroy him with a toisach?"
You mean peeling down
their flesh with some weapon? Yeah, he's
like the daughter of Reb Shmuel.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. What's that?
It doesn't work together if it's chosaf with a cannon.
It's obviously there were no cannons, so. I'm gonna get the water. I think I'll have to reach for it. Yeah, it's close enough. Zimeim laharayik sheishes achav says, cut up the first one. And now he wants to plot to kill the 6 brothers. Zayd Yahir. Zayd Yahir is Mishlei. Yeah. Zayd Yahir, right? And he's saying Zayd Yahir is the Greek here. But Avrois Tuchav with the Tuchav is his innards. It's where his thoughts are. Avrois. I wrote a parish on this, but it was 12, 13, 14 years ago. I don't know if it's Lashon Aveira or just his thoughts that are passing through him. He slaughtered them like a sheep, or like a aluf, like the oxen with his thorns. Zamam, and he plotted. He does not go like Yossi Khan through all 7 because, well, take too long time. It's Shabbos Shachris. How long is it going to take? I'm saying, and it's Kislev. It's a short day. It's a short day. Even if you have a nates, by the time you finish this Piyyut, it's going to be quite late. You're not going to get your challenge. If he, and you will, but only because he skipped the 6th.
And you got to sing the Zem of the Even Ezra,
which isn't actually by him. So nobody says that until the Siddur B'S Yankov, which is not actually by the Yavitz. It includes the commentary of the Yavitz, but it's Bein Gad Makom La'arich. Yeah. Zamam afateh hashvi'i ketana. I am going to seduce the 7th one, the smallest one. Zahav ashircha. I love nam. What's nam? Nam is a common word that appears in Piyyut. Exactly. Nam is na'am. It's na'am. It's a bite. We see how, which is interesting.
We just learned the Tosis. Nimer Reb Shimon. This is the 3 things that Rabbeinu Shimon ben Aklonim was magia Be'ais Petirosa could be Pinovi.
Okay.
Nime.
Yeah.
He said.
Yeah.
The Ashkenazim liked it very much.
They very much like it. And it also shows that Piyyut is not just taking obscure words from Tanakh. Nam doesn't. It reflects also how they talked, and then not this time, but I'm saying in Eretz Yisrael when they didn't say no they said Nam.
As was it V'nom Loi?
Right, V'nom Loi. I once saw a very, very bad translation of this Piyyut, and it said. Yeah, exactly. It said, I will make you rich with gold, he sleepily said. Complete narrative. It was utterly, the whole thing was embarrassing. That was the best translation of the whole thing. The others were even worse. Right.
Before yours.
What's that? No, I'm saying that line.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying the rest of the lines were even worse. But I'm saying Nam was the best. At least Nimrom is a word in Hebrew, as opposed to. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm sure there were. Yeah, it was very bad. Zimandichli l'mishneh kainam. Kainam is from the Dorim. From the Dorim. I swear, it's very funny. There are guys saying kainam because it's so much a Jewish halachic term, but you know what? You needed the rhyme. Tanam nam, koinam. Great. He says, I swear. Yeah. Zayras elem hatoiv levacher. So the good boy, he was misdares to choose. Zak hargeni lama sacher. Zanachli. I'm not going to do it. Lishtach avoy isla el acher. I completely reject. Bowing down, prostrating myself to another God. Cham vayichar, Moishel Rasha, Chizek makoisav, believe Vesha. Chusana yeled, the boy made himself strong. Ulasav lam shrasha, delighted to withstand them. Chaz sahirasa mishpatei vaneha. Their mother saw what the sons had gone through, the mishpat that they'd been judged. Chamta nafsha al mineha. I must admit I don't remember chamat. There's another girsa chamsa, but that also doesn't make sense. She's not robbing them. There's a reason I chose the girsa with the test, but I honestly don't remember. It's Piyyut. Yeah. Another chamat. Look in Google. See, chamat is what? Chaimet is a kind of a animal, but what's the?
It could be chamat means like adding a ches.
They would just add a ches. Yeah. What?
Chumat.
Maybe it's the Lucha I think that you look there.
There's a pusik on Chumat.
Yes, I'm trying. We'll look it up later. If anyone check on Google, check on dictionaries on Google. Chalfa vatashav rucha lakonashi. Her spirit was over and it returned to her creator. Chamos. Again a prayer. We're back to the prayer. Chamosi im govar lachayr. Chasidim elu varigasam zechayr. So if my crimes have been too much and they muddy me, remember these pious ones. Have kindness for us because of these Chassidim. What is the prayer of Chanukah? We usually think, we understand what's the prayer of Pesach. Asher Galanu, who should Galas Oseinu, Kain, Asher Lokinu Yagienu, Lamaidim, we understand that. What's the prayer of Sukkot? So for Isalinu Sukkot Shleimecha. Prayer of Rosh Hashanah, what's the prayer of Chanukah? So for him, the prayer of Chanukah is remember the martyrs. Because of them, don't make me have to undergo martyrdom as well, which is something really live in his time. Now what?
This is early martyrology.
Martyrology?
Martyrology, theology.
Yes, but then specifically linked to Chanukah.
Right, it's a time of martyrdom.
In Italy in the 9th century, the 10th century was not easy. What's Kruye B'lesach B'chor? It's a kinoi for Klal Yisrael. It's probably one of the strangest kinois, one of the strangest kinoim in Piyyut. And who's the Balakino? Who is the Paytan who almost certainly invented it, and he is the one who uses it. He is the one it's very rare for other Paytanim to use it. When they do, it's because they're basing on him. Reb Lotzer, Reb Kilir. He has this in Zachor, Kruye B'lesach B'chor, and in Rosh Hashanah, where It's in Rosh Hashanah somewhere. He has it in a number, and in Hoshana Rabbah. Right, in the one of the ones we say after we get back, there's the Lesach V'chor. It's the Kelna something Notim Kor Kruye B'Lesach V'chor Oishana Vashiana. So what is this?
The ones who are buried alive.
What's that?
The ones who are buried.
No. Hosea is told. Kach l'cha isha zayna, and you should you should marry her, and then you should bear yaldei zanunim, and then I'm going to tell, and you're going to have compassion on them. So I also have compassion on Klal Yisrael. Va'ekareha li, and I bought her, I acquired her for me. B'chaymer sa'irim v'lesech sa'irim. Various measures of barley. And then the chaymer is kar in Chazal midos. So he uses that, and so that if the mashal is Hosea and his wife and his children, and the nimshal is Kadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael and their children. So Klal Yisrael in the nimshal, Hosea's wife is Klal Yisrael. So she's Kruya B'Lesach B'chor. Klal Yisrael's Kruya B'Lesach B'chor. It's this kinoi. It's like it's like you're running your bought.
Was bought.
Like in Bracious, like in Bracious, it's Karisi. And the Pashtus there's this dig, but the Medrash says that Rashi quotes a Medrash that also there's a language of buying. So he's using it because as a European Paytan, he's very familiar with the work of Reb Elazar Bar Kiler, and he uses it. And it rhymes with Zechor Varigasam Zechor. Incidentally, this line, Chasidim Elu Varigasam Zechor, a later Paytan, wrote a one stanza or two stanza addendum to Eila Eskara. It said, in Breuers they say this, in the Western Ashkenazi, and it begins, Chasidim Elu Varigasam. It's like, he clearly, so this Piyyut, in fact, somebody took lines from this Piyyut, wrote a new stanza and put it at the end of Eila Eskara. This was very powerful. You don't think of, when we think of martyrdom, we think of Eila Eskara, we don't think of Yotzer L'Shabbos Chanukah. But whoever did that thought that there was something missing there that he had to take from here.
It's very basic words, Chasidim.
Chasidim, but those three lines, Chasidim Elu V'Harigasam. Yes, but I mean, once you have three words in a row like that, I think, yeah, it's thinking. Okay. Agreed, it's not so profound, but when you have three words together like that, I think that people would have caught the allusion if they were familiar. Tafash oid madain magara. What's tafash? He did stupidly. Lashon tipish. We don't usually use it as a verb, but why not? So madain magara, the one who, like in Mishlei, you find this all over the place. One who incites strife. Tiftu fi asher lo yamra. The one who will not reject my speech. Tiftu is lashon of speech. You find this in Piyyutim. Timuse Yevani Hachai Yikare. One who has his name inscribed in the Timusim is the note, the registered, the written registered. If you registered as Yevani, he'll be called alive. Tik Ace Zaycher Shma Yehudi Tevayach Curates K'may Gedi. But anyone who establishes his name as Yehudi is going to be torn up like a goat, a baby goat. Triya uvi kaires to lahachbid b'shaldi, to put bikairas tia, which we say is malchus, and triya maka triya, fresh wounds to impose fresh wounds in my spine. And at this moment, that's the end of the quotations from, not the quotation, the basis from Yossi Pon. Now, right in the middle of the story, he's going to switch to Medrash Chanukah. Specifically, Maaseh Shtei Anashim. Yep.
I think that you should send me your parrot that you wrote on that thing, and I'll put it on the group. And instead of now going over, because we're not going to finish, and like you said, that it's on the tide also that he knows that we have to go home.
Yeah.
So, but you just point us out what you want, and the point that you want to point out at the end of the Piyyut, because I think we should ourselves read.
Know where the tefillah is.
Yeah.
Where it starts another.
No, also, what do you want to show what this Piyyut more than it shows us now?
So I mean, so there's a few things that are going on here. One, we looked at the Hakol Yeducha at the end. This is in Peter Leonard's dissertation on Piyyutim in Italia. He says Piyyutim can be used as a kind of archaeology to trace the history of the tefillah. We don't have Sidurim in any real quantity until the whole ones until the 12th, 13th century. I think maybe we have one Siddur from France from the 11th. And before that we have fragments in Geniza. But so when we're trying to trace, how did Birkas Yotzer look? Did they say Hamer La'aretz every day? Did they say Hakol Yaducha? Did they skip entirely when they said a Piyyut? Did they have this? Did they have that? One thing we can look at is you look at the end of a Piyyut. Many Piyyutim and Hamer La'aretz. And we see that, even if they're for Shabbos, and we see that in their day, either they always just said Hamer La'aretz on Shabbos, they didn't have a Kol Yaducha. Or maybe when you said a Piyyut,
You didn't have a Kol Yaducha.
I mean, every day was the same.
It didn't say Shabbos special day.
Rambam does not.
Okay, right. Okay.
So you say, or it could be that on a normal Shabbos they did, but when you have a Piyyut, that's instead of Hakol Yaducha. Hakol Yaducha is a Yaitzer, so we're saying a different Yaitzer. This one, though, you see he's already, he has this long Piyyut, and he's still Hakol Yaducha. So that's a phase in the development of it. We saw he has Kadosh after the first three and after the last, even though it's clearly not a refrain, because the story continued, right? He talked in his Kadosh stanza, he talked about the Moifes in heaven. Right. Now at the end, the last one, makes sense that the last one is already, the story's over. Those who are your unique ones and your beloved ones, they take account of you always. Baal nid mesa, there's no one like you. Why does he say that? What are the words after Hakol Yaducha? V'Hakol Yishavchucha. What are the next words? Baal nid mesa. That's Ein Malach, right? Singavucha, they said you're Niskav. Lidbeducha, they said you're Levad. No, they never saw that word before. Lidbeducha.
Welke page man?
The last.
Lidicha, wow.
Yeah, but they said you're Levad.
You're aloneness.
Yeah. Mishvi hadri reim, freedom from their captivity. V'hakol yaducha kadosh. He's back into this. He's the prayer and the story are coming to Zamen. Now at the end, you look when he talks about To'amu hayom Shabbos v'Chanukah. Today is twinned Milashon To'amim Shabbos v'Chanukah. Now the copyists were not always the brightest. And you also see, so in many of these things, I had to really go through the Nusach and see for the Kitzvayat to make sure, find the best ones where you see that in fact it is 4 words per line. And you see in the best ones it is. But later on, as we saw, they insert an after B. Oh, there's B in the pasuk. B. They had no idea that it's 4, that there's a reason. So you're thinking of words.
Interesting also that's not mentioned the nest from the Pach, from the
That's correct, because he's based on Medrash Chanukah.
So interesting, in the 11th century.
No, he definitely knows it. But his sources, he's really sticking close to, he's not taking a measure here, a measure there. He does Yosifan up to Tess, and from Yod onwards, he's not, you go at it's that one word maybe you think. And mainly he's taking Yosifan.
And Medrash Chanukah.
That's his sources. He's not concerned I have to throw in everything, which is interesting because today Neisbach Hashem is so important. For him, it's one more story. It's in the Gemara, but it's not in my sources. I am being, as they say in Manrak, lefayet. I'm mefayet the Medrash.
So wouldn't it make more sense to say that it's got to be an earlier, somebody who wasn't exposed to the Bavli? He's totally ignoring something very foundational in how, in Ashken, how we observe Hanukkah.
But he's after Yosipon, he must have the Bavli.
If he's into Varia?
He's not into, this is European. This is European. He's using with Yosipon.
Okay, let's summarize.
Okay. So when we're saying people who are changing the words and what Amu Hayayim Shabbos v'Chanukah, what did, of course, later scribes trying to improve on it change it? They said, Kishachal B'Reish Chodesh, you say, Amu Hayayim Shabbos v'Chanukah, Amu Hayayim Shabbos B'Reish Chodesh v'Chanukah, makes the line harder to say because it's not 4, and also To'amu means twins. I don't know how you can have twins that are triplets. So people didn't understand. They said every time it says Shabbos and Chanukah, you have to add Rosh Chodesh if it falls on Rosh Chodesh.
Lezakala has a Piyyut on all.
He is specifically for it. Doesn't. That's not just insert. That's not just insert words. That's the twins. There it's you right. Here it's you just think you can insert the word anywhere. I would think the later. This didn't happen, but I would think if later you get people who are even more ignorant, then they would just say the words every year. It just said, right? It says in the book. You say Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Chanukah. You say it's Rosh Chodesh, it's not Rosh Chodesh, right?
It's the same thing.
Tifayar me inyanam me anukavraka.
Only two things.
So one source we looked, I put on the sheet last week, but I didn't include. It's Gemara in Brachos and in Sukkot, in one where it talks about what's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda who says that each what? That says each we had it on the source sheet. I quoted it from Brachos. But in Brachos it says the halach is not like Rabbi Yehuda. It's in Menachos, I think, when it's talking about 1,000 tefillin. Is that where it says, because there it says we do accept it. We don't extend it to Bari Midei Deshayim, but we do accept it. You don't, if your mitzvah's hard, but you can say Asher Kedushanim mitzvahs all mitzvahs. Put up talis, put up tefillin, do all your mitzvahs. But we don't, because this Baruch Hashem Yom. Yes, and I think Piyyut really it extends beyond the halachic obligation, which is that each day and each concept you have to is unique. It's extending that, so it doesn't go to the extent that Chazal didn't say that the Birkas Yaitzer on Shabbos Chanukah has to be unique. The Paytanim extended the concept. It does. Tifayar mei in Yonam. Today are twin Shabbos and Chanukah. You should be glorified. Mei in Yonam de'ayma. Mei in Yonam. Mei in Yonam of Shabbos and Yonam Chanukah. Mei anu gavraka. The Tarakah v'chavad. That's Klal Yisrael. Te'id chanetzach. And they constantly give testimony about you. Kilcha melucha. That I think that's what's going. He's taking these sources. He has his sources.
Beautiful.
And in Yonam, you got to be praised.
Thank you so much.
Thank
beautiful
you.
Series.
Thank
I'm sure
you.
it's going to elevate our Chanukah to get more meaning on the Chanukah.
May in Yonam. May in Yonam, right?
Thank you. May in Yonam.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It was a real faggoting to be here, and I hope before Parshias, Pesach, Shavuos, Tisha B'Av,